Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for January 3rd, 2023. Let me begin by making amends for something I forgot yesterday, which is to give my thanks to my younger colleagues, Anastasia and Stuart Battle and Jason Ross, for their job of filling in for me over the last week. As I'm sure most of you know, they did an excellent job, and I'm always happy to realize that there are people who can step up and take on the tasks of making sure that the truth gets out. Now, also, I want to thank you, my regular viewers, for your participation, for your watching the videos, for your sharing them, and especially for posting comments. I want you to know I do try to read all the comments that are posted every day and appreciate the support and input from you. So please continue to post your comments, share the video. It's crucial now because we're in the middle of a crossroads in history where the future of humanity is being determined. On the one side, you have the corporate cartels, the City of London, the Wall Street, globalists, the World Economic Forum, and so on, who have an intent of establishing a global dictatorship of central banks and to destroy the idea of national sovereignty. And on the other side, you have the people of the world who are yearning for independence, for development, and committed to the sovereignty of their nations and also the potential for cooperation. So at this moment, never underestimate the importance of citizens talking to their fellow citizens about profound ideas and provoking them to think outside the accepted narrative. And what we've seen from the release of the Twitter files is the extent to which the corporate cartels and the security state, including the FBI, the CIA, the Defense Department, and so on, have been involved in controlling what information gets out to you. They're responsible for the whole idea of anything that goes outside of the narrative being disinformation of conspiracy theorists and so on. We're not conspiracy theorists, we're truth seekers. And the attempt to suppress the truth has to be countered by a bolder outcry of those who know what's true to get the truth out to your fellow citizens. Now, I'm going to give you a report that's not covered in the media about the very aggressive diplomacy that's going on to create a new security and development architecture in the world. This is being blacked out by the media, but it is occurring. Now, some of this was seen at the inauguration of the new Brazilian president, Lula, where there were many heads of state there. One of the focal points was the role of Brazil in the BRICS. And this is the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa alliance, which is starting to expand and to integrate itself with Eurasian development, with the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, and so on. And there was confirmation at the Lula inauguration that this is moving ahead very dramatically. Also, the idea of South American integration, Mercosur, UNASUR, economic and investment projects for development with east-west, north-south corridors in South America that then connect through Central America and Mexico to the United States. All of this is crucial for development in the future. There's also a message sent by Lula to President Putin confirming his wish for more direct and in-depth cooperation between their two nations. Another area of diplomacy is the rapprochement underway between Turkey and Syria. Now, Turkey's playing an interesting role. It's not 100% sure to me what the outcome will be, but on the Syria question, it's very important because the removal of Turkish troops from Syria would become a precondition for getting the U.S. troops out. There are U.S. troops occupying oil fields and agricultural land in Syria. And it makes a mockery of the U.S. State Department talking about its commitment to national sovereignty when it's stealing the resources openly of Syria after having armed and trained Syrian, the Islamic terrorists that were deployed against the government of Assad. So the fact that there's a rapprochement underway between Turkey and Syria, mediated by Russia, is extremely important. And it does indicate that there's hope for the future, including the incorporation of the Belt and Road Initiative into that part of the world, including through Iraq. Now, meanwhile, we can't ignore the hotspots. Let me just mention a couple of things. As far as Ukraine, weapons are continuing to be pledged. You had NATO General Secretary Stoltenberg demanding again that NATO members give full support to Ukraine to win the war. This is the second day in a row he's done this, made such an appeal. The question is he worried that the unity of NATO is cracking? And as the winter develops, as the economy continues to tank in Western Europe and Eastern Europe, as cold weather hits, as the energy shortages hit, we'll see how long this unity can be sustained. There are also concerns raised about the counter to the Belt and Road Initiative that the European Union launched, called the Global Gateway. And this is a reflection of a deep concern that exists in the Anglo-American Empire over the question of why is the Global South not supporting NATO against Russia and China? And the line is, well, it's Russian propaganda, Russian disinformation. Well, that's bunk. How about the fact that Western economic policy is an imperial demand that those countries not develop, that they not cooperate, that they stick to the dollar system down to the starvation of their last citizen? Maybe that's why there's anti-Americanism and opposition to Europe. Now, to address this, Google is launching a pilot project, which is a pre-bunking operation. Now, we've reported on this before. The idea of pre-bunking is, instead of waiting until disinformation comes out so you have to debunk it, instead, you brainwash people so no one will be open to anything but the official narrative. They're using India as a pilot program. I certainly hope the people of India recognize this for what it is: more British-style imperial control through changing the discussion process and creating a dissension within the country that would force India to accept the demands of the West. The Indians are on a very straightforward course of their own development in cooperation with the BRICS nations and others. Hopefully, this will be rejected by them. Now, also on the failure of the West to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative, the European Union had come up with a program called the Global Gateway Initiative, where they pledged 300 billion euros for so-called development aid. Well, at a hearing at the European Parliament yesterday, it was revealed that none of that money has been made available, and the little bit of money that's been made available was already pledged. One speaker after another asked the question, well, where's the program? Very much like the Green Initiative of Biden. It's nothing new. It's actually an anti-development policy. One of the speakers said that denounced it as a, quote, communications exercise. In other words, a public relations operation. So the situation in the Western world continues to move toward an economic implosion, and to divert your attention from that, they're continuing to say that we must stand firm to defeat Russia. Now, one other hotspot, just keep an eye on this, is the Korean Peninsula. There's very sharp language between North and South Korea. This is probably related to the global NATO expansion, which is moving toward an accelerated containment of China, confrontation with China. North Korea is very sensitive on these things, and it is looking like it could very well lead to a confrontation between North and South Korea. Now, to overcome this, you need a new security and development architecture. This should be clear to everyone except those who are totally committed to continuing the collapsing Anglo-American City of London Wall Street empire. Now, we're going to be continuing our efforts to organize an alternative to this. Coming up on January 8th will be a policy discussion initiated by Diane Sare, the Senate candidate for New York State. There'll be a link for this at the bottom of the page. And also soon we'll have a full announcement of a Schiller Institute event for January 15th. So look for that on our website. So again, I urge all of you to continue your active participation with us. Bring more people in. We represent an alternative which cannot be bought and controlled. And it's this alternative which is growing internationally and needs your support now more than ever. So thanks for joining me today. I'll be back with you tomorrow.